Hey, thanks for joining me again here, folks. I have a different kind of show here today. I speak with an author, and I've done this a few times. This is probably my third or fourth author on this program. Today, I speak with Vallorie Neal Wood, an author from Royston, Georgia, and her book is appropriately titled Royston. It's a great little book. I just suggest you get out there and get a copy. A lot of fun. We talk about how this is all put together. She kind of gets into the small town Mayberry feel that we talk about, and especially lots of images about North Georgia. This interview has been really, really chopped up. I'm not really going to do a video component of this because she was speaking to me from Royston, which doesn't really have the greatest internet there. It kind of jams up a bit. So I had to do some very heavy editing on here. So I apologize. We will not have a video component of this episode. But anyway, we have a great time and we talk about everything that was included in putting together Royston. She's had a few other books too that she's co-written. We kind of get a little bit into that. And she's also been a teacher. So if you don't understand some of this, I tried to chop this up and make this somewhat intelligible. It was a little difficult. I didn't want to redo the entire discussion. That's what I always get nervous about when I do these podcast episodes. If I'm having internet issues or anything like that, I do get a little concerned. Um, about that. And I hate to have to redo a discussion. It's just that somehow the magic would be lost. So if there is any magic here. Anyway, so we talk about life in small North Georgia towns, going up I-85, heading towards this beautiful lake called Lake Hartwell, which is on the Florida. No, not Florida, Florida. What am I thinking? Florida, the Georgia, South Carolina line. So a lot of fun. She's a really, really great writer. And look her up, Vallorie. She spells it Vallorie. That's yeah, a little bit different. Vallorie Neal Wood, writer from North Georgia. She's going around as we speak in August of 2024. She's mentioned that she's going to Maggie Valley, so in September of 2024. So if you're listening to this episode in August of 2024, you can go check her out there in Maggie Valley, which is a really cool place in North Carolina. Just so many beautiful little towns here as you go north here in the southeast. Really, really cool. I love the mountains. It's gorgeous. I'm much more of a more mountain person, more so than a beach person. So here we are. This is mid-August. The heat is on, folks. 2024. What is going on? I mean, I know I'm in the South. I've been here for decades. But wow. I mean, I've been really trying to, kind of get myself accustomed to it. And I have been really, but still, wow, so many 90-degree days and above, almost close to 100, and reaching the triple digits. This is awful. I can't stand it. Oh, and we got lots more summer left. It's that weather doesn't break until like mid-October. We get like really no breaks. But otherwise, visit the South. But maybe not so much in the summertime. And even September, it's like it's a cruel joke. How could you do this to us? Whatever, whoever's controlling the weather. I don't know who. I'm not going to suggest who. That gets very controversial too these days. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, August 12th, we're heading here into the mid-August life here in the Southeast. So I hope it's all going good for you, no matter where you are in your little corner of the world. Enjoy this episode. Also, guess what? It's World Elephant Day. I like looking up what's going on a specific day here. Uh, International Youth Day, World Elephant Day, Baseball Fans Day. If there's gotta, I don't get that. Whatever. Gotta be a special day for everybody. So I always like to mention that. Anyway, enjoy our episode. I'll see you on the other side of this, or you're gonna hear from me because we're not doing video here. Might do some like promo clips using the video. So I don't want all lost with Vallorie. I know she kind of gussied herself up for this interview. So she was very sweet. Great to speak with her. Great to see you. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just my internet connection is unstable. That's a rarity. We
Mhm.
have that's why I didn't want to use my phone because I guarantee you we'll be talking and suddenly I'll go away
Uh,
because the reception here is horrible.
yeah, some places it's just really unexplainable.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, we could probably name who your service provider is.
You probably could.
Yeah, that's always rough. Yeah, seriously. Are you actually up in Royston today?
I am actually in Royston. I'm sitting at my house and in Royston talking to you from the foothills of wherever we are.
And this is summer 2024, and we are having, of course, another scorcher. I'm sure you've seen a few,
Yes.
being from this area.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
So
which,
hopefully I won't notice today because I've got the air conditioning on so I can stay cool and collected.
yeah, how did anybody live before air conditioning? I've been here probably more years than I care to admit. I'm practically a Southerner. I've been here 3.5 decades. I'm looking at 40
Wow.
years through the trees here.
Yeah, you're in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Lived here more years than where I grew up, so it's like
Okay.
I'm
Well, I've
very
lived
used to
in
this.
I've lived in Georgia all my life. So my husband was from Atlanta. He was a
Hmm.
Roosevelt graduate, high school graduate, Roosevelt.
Okay, okay, yeah. When Atlanta, yeah, I love looking at the old pictures of Atlanta and seeing where it was somewhat civil and tranquil, and yeah, the
Yeah,
chaos today is it's just unimaginable.
right.
Wow,
In
has it
fact,
changed?
in the book, I make a note that, or I mentioned that Roosevelt, and this is true because my husband and I went there because he was an alumni, and they were offering the former students little apartments. They'd taken Roosevelt and turned it into an apartment building. Uh,
Repurposing.
he had the opportunity to get one, but he really didn't want to live there. He had great memories of growing up and going to Roosevelt.
Yeah, the new
Of
book.
course, my
Yeah.
character had to do the same thing.
Uh-huh. So yeah, the new book, I mean, that's obviously write what you know. It's just this
Right.
lovely
Well,
book. Yeah.
yeah, I don't always write what I know. I do a lot of research and make up the rest.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. Like,
It's my
names have
spice
been
words.
changed to protect the innocent, right? Yeah. It's I and we could, being from this area, it's just like there's a lot of these connections and your characters. I could really kind of see that. And we've at one time, if you've been here a long time, you kind of do bump into these kind of characters, especially
Oh,
when
you
you.
do. I mean, you do really.
So the idea for this book, how did it all come about?
The idea came about. I went to get my oil changed at the last can hold out for a real service station. And I was sitting in there getting my oil changed, like I said, and he started telling me about this been shot in the chest and shot in the head. And I said, wow, I'm going to go look that up in the archives of the newspaper. He said, what? Nothing ever written about it. I said, oh, really? A dead body and a cover up.
Mm,
And I said, shot in the head and the chest, and they deemed it a suicide. I
yeah.
just went with that story and I started talking it up, talking around to different people. Actually, the detective became my resource guy. Anytime I needed information, he was very helpful.
Yeah, I like the detective in the story. I like how people in the South use like last names for first names. I like that name Rusk. It's really interesting.
Actually, Russ came from a very, very dear friend of mine that I went to high school with. Her last name was Rusk.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I was looking around in my imagination for this detective's name, so I had to always make sure in the book when I was typing, I didn't type Rush
Yeah, yeah.
or
It tries to correct you, right?
it did.
Dang it, I can't stand that
I
autocorrect. Please, that's what I
know.
mean, Rusk. Yeah,
I know.
drives me crazy. Yeah.
So that's where the idea came from, and it just grew from there. And there was this girl, which is about 12 miles from Royston, Avila. And the first time I met her, I said, man, your name
Mm.
is the name of a character.
I could kind of picture her. Yeah, and yeah, there's somebody who's just like hasn't had love and it's just like had, maybe some bad experiences, and you can kind of feel that with her, and somebody who goes around town on her bicycle. This is So much paints that that idea of a Mayberry type plays.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Andy Griffith. I grew up on that, but just I love that tranquility. I just so miss
I
that
I
watching
do
that.
too. Actually, Andy Griffin is on my TV most of the time, Griffith,
Yeah.
because it's comfort. It's like a comfort food.
Yeah,
So
it is.
it's a comfort sound. And I don't have to be involved in the episode. All I have to do is look up.
Yeah, completely. And the Don Knotts character, he was just so great. I
Oh,
appreciate him so much.
me too. I do too. I mean, in fact, without him there, it was like there's no point watching Andy Griffith. I don't
Yeah.
watch anything, any of the colored episodes because that's not really the show to me.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
so true. That really
Barney's not
is.
there to take the flack, I guess.
Yeah, it all kind of happened at once though when Don Knotts decided to leave and then they decided to get into color. It was all at once, so it's like once it went to color, way before there was a jumping of the shark. There was oh yeah, they went to color and it's just like they wore out their welcome at that point, which is sad.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, Sundance just keeps the black and whites on repeat, and I think occasionally, maybe on the weekends, they'll show the color ones. But
Oh yeah, on Pluto, it's when they run out of they go, all the way through.
so going back, and does that remind you? Well, kind of Atlanta, kind of was already growing by the time. I mean, you were growing up. What was it
Oh,
like in
well,
Atlanta?
Atlanta was always a huge city, and
Yeah,
my husband, like I said, grew up in Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta was written across his heart. I assure you, he was born in Atlanta, raised in Atlanta, and we probably would have lived in Atlanta, but we ended up living all over the not all over the world, all over Georgia,
Georgia.
all over the this half. We lived in Lithia Springs for a long time, and then I grew up in Marietta.
Marietta itself was kind of like that
Oh yeah,
hometown feeling.
Marietta. Now Marietta has grown up since I was a
Oh my gosh,
teenager.
I love the
Come up to the
square.
Marietta Square about every other month and go to their festivals that they have there. So if anybody's ever on the Marietta Square, come by and say hello. I go down some streets that I went down my whole life, and it's hard to recognize it because it just seems to have grown so much. But Atlanta, to me, it's always just been the big city.
So yeah, the book is wonderful. Has it been received around? Have you been people from like all over the world? Are they able to get their hands on a copy?
Actually, if they go on Amazon, they sure can. But I have done very well up here in Royston and Livonia. In fact, I was in a book club March. They read my book in Royston, and I came there and talked to them about it. And just 2 days ago, there's a very popular little place in Livonia called Sweet Comes of Honey. They have asked me to do their book club, the Buzz Bees are going to be doing my book, and I'm going to be speaking to their group in September.
Huh. How
It's
long
done
did it take
very
you to?
well.
Yeah, that's an insane. That's really great. So how long did it take you to write this?
This book took me 2 years. I
Hmm.
started in 2020, and probably before COVID, because my brother has a restaurant up in Livonia. In
Hmm.
fact, it's in the book too,
I noticed Livonia's in there.
a
I
Cafe
have stopped in
Silo.
Livonia. Yeah, on the way to Lake Hartwell. Livonia's right off of I-85.
Yes, yes. Yes, so it's Royston, Livonia, Hartwell. So
Mm-hmm.
all these little towns are right close together. But Cafe Silo, which unfortunately closed down just a few months ago, but at the time I had just moved up to Royston, and so I was kind of in there helping him, if you can call what I was doing helping, but just being in there and being a support system and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I got to talking to other people about the story, and so the whole point was that it must have been before the world shut down, because we had people in there talking to them. So it's been 2 years. I actually published it October of last year,
Good. Good.
and
Yeah.
I premiered it in Royston of all places. Naturally,
Yeah, absolutely.
Royston had a big arts and crafts festival in December, or well, not in December, but for their Christmas thing, and it was in October. And I was ready to go with my books. It may have been November. I'm sorry. I think I published it in October, and then it came out in November, actually. I got my hands on it, my copies to sell
Yeah,
at the market.
yeah. That
And
is,
it flew off the table. So, in fact, I was at the post office about 2 weeks ago, and I came out with another order of books for another venue I'm going to, and I needed some books. So I was putting them in my car, and the lady that was
mm,
with me, she came out. She said, I was going to help you get that box in, but I see you've already done it. I said, well, I'm used to it. And I said, well, take a look at my books if you're interested. I'm a writer and blah, 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 blah. And she says, oh, I tell her my name and I
yeah.
pull out Royston. She says, oh, you're Mrs. Wood. And I'm saying,
That's great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that be me. And she said, yeah, your book is for sale down the road in one of the little shops. So actually, there's two shops where my book is being sold at right now. And that's very exciting.
Yeah, that's gotta feel great. That really
It
does. And to
feels
see your name
great.
on there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
So
my
this is
God.
like my fifth book, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
This
So
is my
you
fifth book. I just happen to have them
whole
here.
collection, just yeah, it's always be part of
I
the
have
background.
My Kingdom for a Boy, Letters Unopened. That story takes place in Kings Mountain and Shelby, North Carolina. And then we did Bitter Wine.
These are nice
Bitter Wine.
covers. You're getting people to do like really nice, like some artwork there. I like those
Yeah.
fonts.
Yeah. I just actually, on this particular one, I took this picture and I just took the color out of it. Book trailers. And at the end, you see it fade from the color to black and white, which I love that effect.
Yeah.
And then the last one is In the Shadow of the Mountains. And if you can see that,
Yeah. You have a
that's the
co-author.
Republic of Georgia. These two books,
Yeah.
Bitter Wine and In the Shadow of the Mountains, we took a character from one and a character from another.
How are these getting published? You have a publisher who you go through?
Actually, I did have an agent many moons ago, and when I took, she shopped around My Kingdom for a Boy in Dorowski Bridge, and she found a publisher for Dorowski Bridge, and the publisher came back and said, we will publish this. We love the story. We will publish it if you will change the ending. We don't like
Hmm.
how it ended.
Interesting.
No, no, we're not changing the ending. When you read the story and you see it ends that way, you know it has to end that way. We
Yeah.
bowed out and said, thank you very much, but no, we're not doing that. The other book, My Kingdom for a Boy, the publishers in New York said that my characters were too young. I mean, too old. And
Mm,
I said, 40 is too old.
really? Oh
And
my God.
my agent at the time said, well, you have to remember that those publishers are only like 24 years old.
Oh my
I said,
gosh.
well, they're not going to understand the story in the first place, then forget that. And so Mary Ellen said, if I was you, I would just go independent. I would publish independently. And so I did. I said, I'm going to do that. Forget those people. I could wait a lifetime.
Right.
Sure. You really can. And so she suggested Amazon KDP. And so that's who I designed the covers, do the formatting of the book. Um, Richard and I edit together, and everything else about it. And we just market it ourselves. So,
Yeah, more
and
getting
that's one
into
of
that.
the different arts and crafts festivals in different towns. As far as Maggie Valley and
To the north. Yeah, I love
3 hours.
Maggie Valley. I love. It's
Oh yeah, but I'll be there in September. And but I go out to these different festivals, and I said that if I have to sell one book at a time, I'm now working on book six with it's called The Ventriloquist, and it came about when my husband and I went out to Sacramento because I was in uh a screenwriting competition that I had won.
oh cool.
And so we went out there to Sacramento, and we went to this little theater that was the three actors on stage. They were just reading the play. They weren't there was no props, nothing like that. It was just them reading from the script. And as they sat there, they became the characters within my ventriloquist story. And so it grew from there. So I've been working on it now, trying to get it done.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it out by the fall.
Yeah.
Richard and I are working on the other one, so that will be our seventh book out, my seventh.
Nice. It's nice. So you're
So
dabbling in the screenplay arena.
yeah, I need to get busy writing the screenplay.
Yeah, because you're so descriptive in that, and you can picture that. So I think that could make it even easier to
Oh, it
translate into a
will.
screenplay. And we're
So
doing so much production here in Georgia. I could
I
see
know
easily. You could
that's what
easily go up there and do it.
that's what I used to tell my students all the time, that you don't have to go to California, Hollywood. Man, you got it right here in Atlanta. We've got mountains. We're near the coast.
Yeah.
We have a desert somewhere.
Well, that would be called summertime when there's no rain.
Keep going south. I think you'll run into some
Oh gosh, yeah.
desert like
All that
places.
farmland. Yeah, my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah. It's a
And plus we've got,
scornful.
Tyler Perry
Yeah.
Studios. There's a studio in Sonoya, Pinewood. I don't know. I think they
I think they're here in their south of town, like towards that Peachtree City area,
oh, maybe
Fayetteville
they went to a
area.
different studio. But
Yeah,
yeah, I remember when Pinewood came to Atlanta, because I'm thinking, wow, now I can finally get a Bond film going.
exactly. James Bond comes to Georgia. I mean, you could keep that going, that
For I
franchise.
know. Well,
You do. You have everything in Georgia. We have got a beautiful coast here in the mountains. It's just everything California's gotten. It's a bit more affordable here. Now that's going to keep changing if people keep moving here. It's
right, right, right. They keep moving here.
I'm near Norcross. I'm in Peachtree Corners, and it's
Okay.
just changed so much. I mean, it's like they incorporated Peachtree Corners here over 10 years ago, and it's really, really changing. They're doing this thing called Curiosity Lab, and they're testing out autonomous vehicles here, and oh, they're building here like crazy. All these gentrified places, these things for Gen Z and even younger now, like places that I wouldn't even dare thinking of moving into. They look like prisons, but hey, that's what the kids want, I guess.
No, no, thank you. I like to live out in where there's nobody around you.
As long as you're not too far to the medical establishment if you need to do that. That's the nice thing
Right,
about
right. There is a happy medium, and that's one thing I like about Royston. It's kind of like the country and the city. Love downtown Royston. It's
yeah,
such a, I've never really lived in a small town. Marietta was not, by the time that I grew up and got out of school and went to college and stuff, Marietta was, to me, a pretty big town.
yeah.
But Royston is really a little town. And when I tell you that people come to know you that you don't even know them, that is a small town. I've never lived in that. So it's been a whole new experience for
I'm
me.
sure. I'm sure.
I've always lived on the anonymous side of life. And now when I say my name, people are starting to know me.
Exactly. Yeah. That's wonderful. Now, where did you go to school?
You mean
Well, even high
college?
school and college, yeah.
I went to Wheeler High School. I'm a Wheeler
Wheeler, I
Wildcat.
know about Wheeler. I've heard of that.
And then I went to Kennesaw State
Yeah.
University. I actually started there when it was Kennesaw Junior College.
Ah,
There were three buildings there.
oh wow.
And then I left, and I came right out of high school and went, and then I discovered that life was much more exciting than college. So I dropped out of college. And the
Yeah.
next time I went back to Kennesaw, they were Kennesaw State. And then when I finally said, you better go get that bachelor's while you're still young enough to go do it. And I went and got my bachelor's, but they were Kennesaw University by then. Then I went to Georgia State for my master's. I ended up getting a teaching job right out. I got my degree in screenwriting, and I never, ever intended to ever, let
Yeah.
me emphasize that, be
Yeah.
a teacher. Never was on my plate of things to do. Didn't want to do it. And this job opening came over the email for AIU needing video editors. Well, I
Ah.
just come out of learning all of that. And I said, hey, I can do that. So the next thing I knew, I was there for 20 years.
Wow. Wow, that really adds up.
We
Oh my
went from
gosh.
Buckhead to down to Dunwoody, and they
Yeah.
combined the two campuses together. And so we ended up at Dunwoody. But I also went to my alma mater at Kennesaw State or Kennesaw University and then taught broadcast journalism there for about 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So I would have to always have my badge hanging on my rearview mirror so that I could know what college I was going to that day. Where are you going
Yeah.
today? Oh, yeah. You have to
Yeah,
flip it over so you can remember.
it's so funny where life brings you like this. Like, I never thought I'd be teaching, but you do these things and you fall into it. The opportunities come and you
And
grab them.
right, and you do it. That's right. But it afforded me to go to, like I say, I was actually in three different competitions, or my screenplays. Three of them made it into different competitions, and I was able to go out to California. And
Mm.
I actually was born in California.
Oh, wow.
Well, I had never been back out there since my birth. And
Yeah.
that was just a really, I was born in Travis Air Force Base. My father was in the Air Force.
Oh, yeah. Moved you all
And
around a lot. Yeah.
yeah, and so when the opportunity came to Sacramento, go to Sacramento, I went for it. I didn't get to go out to Travis because we were too busy. I wanted to go see where I was born, but we
Oh,
didn't make it that far because we were too busy doing screenwriting stuff that weekend. I always
yeah.
said if I ever moved anywhere, it would be to Sacramento because it
Yeah.
just felt like, honestly, even my husband said that, and he wasn't even from there, hadn't even been there. He said, "This place feels like home." I said, "Good, because I'm thinking about let's moving out here." But then
Yeah.
we had a granddaughter that was born, and my daughter wouldn't go with us, so that
Uh,
wasn't going to work.
it does seem like a cute town there. It's their state capital and
Oh,
just
yeah.
away from all the craziness and not too far from University of California, Davis. That's the
Right,
closest.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in fact, ventriloquist takes place in Sacramento naturally. I mean, it would have to after being out there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's great. What a story. So, no, was your dad, did he see any combat or was he like in the reserves or
he
something
was
like
in
that?
the Air Force, so
Air
he
Force.
basically was building airplanes.
Oh, yeah.
And how he ended up in Marietta, he got a job at
Yeah.
Lockheed in
Yeah.
Marietta. And that's how we ended up in living there our whole life because
Huge employer.
he was a flight supervisor on the C-5 airplanes. So
Yeah. Out of all my years here, I did about 3 years. I lived off of Cobb Parkway, not too far from Marietta there. I remember seeing
yeah.
all the planes from Dobbins coming in and out of there.
Yes,
Oh
I
my,
know.
phew, you see some really crazy stuff. There was
I
one
know.
summer I was working overnights. It was terrible. They were like doing drills over the area. Like there's something that was just constantly circling and circling for days on end. I'll never forget that. It was like the middle of the summer.
Was it like that big B-2 bomber plane or
Something
something?
like that. It was early
They
90s. It's just
yeah,
like
they would take that out sometimes and seem to fly it around or
in
something.
circles. Like, oh
Did you
my
ever see
God.
the Blue Angels?
Oh yeah. Now I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and every Labor Day they would do an air show, and Blue Angels were always there. It's just yeah. It's just stunning. It really is amazing stuff. And I'm not too far from where this is the DeKalb Peachtree Airport.
Yes, yes.
They just had a show over there, and just like over my house isn't too far from there. So I was able to see some of those classic World War II planes they were displaying.
Yeah, I can remember growing up and we lived on Powers Ferry in Marietta.
Yeah.
And on the back porch, off the back porch, the Blue Angels would fly over doing their whatever you call their drills, their
Huh.
practice before they went and did their show. And that was really cool getting to see that. But you have to remember, since I said my father worked on airplanes in
Yeah.
all of the Air Force, we ate and at supper, dinner, he talked about airplanes, how they were made,
Yeah.
this. So we ate airplanes at night,
Oh my
eating
gosh.
dinner. And uh, so I grew up with this tremendous love for airplanes. I mean, I love to see them flying over. And um, I don't know, it's just one of my favorite sounds. And my father, when I was about 9 years old, and I had a cousin who was my age, my mother's brother's daughter, and we went to some airfield in South Carolina and picked my cousin up.
Mm.
Now, my father borrowed a little two-seater plane, had a friend of his that had one, and the friend was the pilot. My father was in the plane, and I rode in the back, and we flew to that in that little two-seater out to that airfield in the pasture, just this pasture. And that was real flying because you
I'm
heard the
sure.
wind
Oh
and
my gosh,
it,
yeah.
it was like, it was just so cool. And the first time I ever flew a commercial plane, I was so disappointed. I said, "Where's the wind? I'm not hearing any wind blowing.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
hair isn't flying." So that was,
I know. I love seeing those biplanes, and people are like in the cedars up there. It's just, yeah, that's real flying. Come on with this air
yeah,
commercial stuff.
yeah. Now that was a real, real, real plane. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I have love of airplanes, in me too. So in the Shadow of the Mountains, my character is she comes out of the Air Force as a captain, and that's what she did was
Yeah.
fly.
Those are the
Of
things you
course.
know. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love all the mentions in your book. And Livonia, I remember I stopped off there because the traffic was so bad coming up to in 2017 we went to see the eclipse and we had to keep going north, north, north. We wanted to get to Hartwell, but we had to stop off at Livonia and there's a rest stop over there to where we saw the eclipse. And it was like it was pretty wild. It's like, wow, we really got to experience that. It was just really amazing. But yeah, Livonia. So I like that getting mentioned. And then Elberton, which was famous for that display there in Elberton. I remember doing a video there.
Oh,
Um,
right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they got blown up though.
Yeah, somebody, I'm glad I got
Somebody,
to see that before somebody
you
blew
just
it
somebody
off.
blew it up.
People were like, we know it was somebody connected to Burt Reynolds or something. All these theories were like, why would he want to blow that up? It was
Yeah,
just
was he
so
even
amazing.
alive then?
Yeah, I know. Or somebody, I think there was a joke going around that what they found in there was like Burt Reynolds and Playboy or something like
Oh
that.
my, oh right. I remember hearing that. Yes, you're right. Yes. Burt Reynolds' famous Playboy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was very, very bizarre. I wonder what the story is behind that whole thing.
I
Elverton
don't
is
know.
just, yeah,
Elberton, actually, I have a sequel that's going to come out of Royston,
yeah.
and it's going to probably take place in Elberton. I haven't decided yet, but some of the things at the end of the book kind of make you think he's going to Elberton. So we'll see, but I'm not going to call it Elberton because
Yeah,
I don't know that Elberton. Who wants to go around? Don't tell anybody in Elberton I said that.
yeah,
But who
yeah,
wants to go around saying my book's called Elberton?
yeah, yeah.
Elberton. Then I thought about Elbert County because that kind of sounds like,
Hmm.
out in the country. And then so I've come up with another title because Elberton is the granite capital of the world, right? That's what I've
Yes,
heard.
yes. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I thought about using Granite City as my
Granite City.
title.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's it.
I hope that no other writers are out there listening and say, "Hey, I love that." But
Yeah.
that's okay because titles are not copyrightable. So
Good, good. Yeah, that's how it is in music too. It can get a little confusing, more than one song called Just the Way You Are. Wait a minute, that's not
right,
Bruno Mars.
exactly.
Come on. Billy
That
Joel
would
is
be
my guy.
true.
Not Bruno Mars.
Right.
But it's interesting, yeah, but that's the way it is. It's like you want to be original. It's like, hey, wait a minute, I came up with that title. I'm the clever one here. It's so true. Yeah, it's North Georgia is very beautiful, and especially when you go to the east, northeast Georgia, and
Oh,
you go through Toccoa and those areas. It's just, the
yes.
mountains. It's just
Yes.
beautiful.
It is. It's very nice.
Yeah, and it's nice to get away for those of us in Atlanta where it's like, it's
Oh,
crazy every
definitely.
day.
Definitely. Have you been to Helen?
Yeah, Helen was one of those first places that everybody was telling me about when I first moved here. So yeah, had to run up there a few times. It's been a long time now, but yeah, I'm hoping that it's always changing for the better. It's been a long time.
Well, Helen, there's not much else they can do with Helen because
Yeah.
it really is pretty huge as far as uh, uh, growth. And I'm not talking about population growth. I'm just talking about the way that the town has grown. But in my story, Bitter Wine,
Mhm.
my character actually is living in Helen when his life changes and things happen. The past always comes back to haunt you, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are the good stories. It's like you
I
just when
love
you think you're
I love
okay.
those. I love those kind of stories.
Yeah, to think you're fine, they pull you back in. I love
Right.
that.
It's just like Rusk, he
Yes.
had no idea that coming to Royston, how it was going to change his life.
Yeah.
And so I love that whole, I don't want to say too much for people that haven't read it,
Yeah,
but
we don't want to give any of this away, but it's just, yeah, these are
there's
great
a particular
characters.
scene at the post office.
Yeah.
I love that. And that whole thing. I'm hoping to get to mention that to the book club,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so we can talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, another good mention here is Cashiers, North Carolina. I used to do some travel writing for the Gwinnett Daily Post. I
Oh,
had a
yeah,
column.
Cashiers.
And yeah, I went to Cashiers one time, and I just, well, it was a dry county at that time, the county that Cashiers is in. So I think you had to go to like Highlands to really get anything if you wanted to drink.
That's
But
funny. Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't know that. I
yeah,
actually there's a radio station 104.5 that comes out of the Highlands area. And
yeah.
that's where I got the idea. And I started looking up how far away is that from Royston? And I think it was like 2 hours, hour and a half or
Hmm.
something. And so the cousin, of course, she had to be from there.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great, yeah, that
Sometimes
whole area.
it's like giving nod to places that you like or you've been to or something. And that station is really a great station. Do you know
Hmm.
which one I'm talking about?
I think so.
104.5.
I think I did stumble on it when I was up there and
Yeah,
visited that area. Yeah, I love
yeah,
Highlands.
yeah.
I also stayed at the old Edwards Inn in that area. It's just
Oh,
really, just beautiful. And if you're a really big time hiker, which I kind of get into a little bit, yeah, nothing's better than, North Georgia, Southern North Carolina, and into those areas. It's just, yeah, it's fascinating.
it is. I like that.
Totally. But yeah, you have never ending material in your neck of the woods,
I really
for
do.
sure.
And people always want to tell you, have you heard about this mystery or that mystery?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's going to be part of my next book. In fact, I've got there's two sequels that will come out of Royston.
Good.
They won't the sequel, I guess you have to call
Yeah.
it that, because it will kind of, I don't want to
Yeah.
say wrap up, but it will take it a little bit further, the story at the
Mm.
ending, and we'll take it a little bit further. And then I have a third idea that came to me at one of those arts and crafts festivals. One At one of them, this person was telling me something about this particular house I had seen, and so we were talking about that. And then lo and behold, a week later, I was at another festival, and this lady starts talking to me about that house that I'm talking about, and I'm like, wow, that is wild that you're saying that to me because I was just talking to so and so.
Yeah.
And so that gave me an idea for a third story to come out of Royston. So the
Good.
next one will involve Rusk again, finishing out,
Good.
wrapping up things. And then the next one will be Avila. And
Good.
and
Yeah.
Rusk may not want Avila in that story because it will get too dangerous.
Very good.
So
Oh, that's awesome. That's really good. Yeah, you're just you keep going. Just like, yeah, kind of
exactly.
like John Grisham or somebody like that. It's just like you constantly have an output happening. So that's inspiring to see that.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, My Kingdom for a Boy, which is the book I showed you a minute ago,
Yeah.
this picture, I'm going to show this to you again. This, I've had four four readers.
Mm,
Oh, sorry. I've had
mm,
four readers that have come back to me
mm.
and who have said, I don't know if that's showing backwards or not, but
Well, it looks
they
good. Yeah.
they have a sequel. I got to know more about these people.
Mm,
So I'm thinking about that. That would be like book 8, 9, I think. When I went and cleaned out my great aunt's house, and the whole time I'm cleaning it out, I'm like, who is this great aunt of mine? I mean, and so every room had different stuff. And when I pulled up the dining room rug, which was
yeah.
oddly placed in the dining room in the first place, that image was on the hardwood floor. So
Wow.
weird looking. I'm gonna take a
Yeah,
picture of it. It
that
looks like
is.
a horse.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does.
And it later, as the story begins to develop in my head, that becomes part of the mystery.
Mm.
So I tell people when they buy the book, hey, well, when you get to the dining room, you got a visual. I really like for the reader to find out as the character finds out. I think that's much more surprising
Yes.
than for the
Yeah.
reader to have to read the story and they're waiting for the character. You know what I
Very good.
mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Very
prefer I
true.
prefer for you, the reader, to be saying now, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening?
Yeah. It makes it far more exciting.
Yeah, that's when you
Absolutely.
can call it a mystery, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Well, it's awesome. So you're going around and touring and doing these readings. That's exciting.
I
And
am.
got a lot going on for the future as well for the sequels and everything. So
Yeah, I'm very
that's really
excited.
nice.
Very
Absolutely very
excited.
exciting. Well, it's been great speaking with you. I really enjoyed it. And we'll definitely be hearing more from you in the future. Well, take care.
Okay. You too. Thank you so much for
Have a
having
good
me
one.
on. I
Bye-bye.
appreciate it. Bye bye.
And I hope you enjoyed our little discussion here. I always admire writers. It's just not an easy task to get up and be creative and to do it. They all make it look easier than what it really is. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.